This has been going on for a long, long time. It's not like the players' union or the players didn't know about this because they were involved with it. So it wasn't hidden. The fact is when the NFL got, it came out to the NFL and some of the owners, they got pissed off about it. Now, I'm sure the owners didn't think it was a collusion because I believe they knew something about this too. It couldn't have just happened over the last couple of years and completely just been thrown under the rug. Obviously, owners knew about it, players knew about it, but it finally came out because there had to be a story. The NFL, there was no stories where we went from the draft to free agency, and everybody's trying to find something. All these writers are trying to find something before OTAs or preseason starts, which is right around the corner. You're talking about the preseason. What is it? 3 weeks away. We're gonna see the Hall of Fame inductee, and then we're gonna see the first preseason game over there in Cleveland. In Cleveland. So obviously the NFL and these writers are trying to find a story. So this story was something that was brewing. It was brewing from last year because obviously over the last 3 years, there was something going on with John Gruden and those text messages and those emails and everything. And John Gruden lost his job with the Raiders. What was it, 3 years ago? And then not anybody has come out with that list of guys because there were like 70 different people, including owners, GMs, coaches that were on those emails. But the only
wasn't it like 10 years though, like 10 going
over the
back
span
like
of
10?
2012 to like 21. Yeah.
It was going on for a while, but nobody knows who was on those lists except John Gruden and then obviously Schneider and Goodell. Those were the only three guys I think were released and that on the 70 or 80 guys that were involved in that scandal. Now this scandal is starting to grow legs. Now, I don't know if it was so much of a scandal unless there's more to this scandal that meets the eye. Now, I don't know, and there's nothing that's come out. Maybe the NFL is going to brush it under the rug as they've done it so very well over the years. Go ask the New England Patriots how many times they brushed those under the rug. We all know about Spygate. Deflategate wasn't anything about a gate, but obviously the NFL was trying to drop the hammer on Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft because owners did not like the fact that those tapes were not shown, and they burned the tapes before it could even get out there. But and it's not just the NFL, professional sports. The MLB, there's scandals. It happens all the time, and it's covered up. The NBA, how many scandals have been with the NBA? As we all call it the LJ. Well, I call it the LJ because LeBron James, I'm sure when he retires and he steps away from the NBA, there'll be stories coming out there where some kind of scandals involved with LeBron James and some of the better players in the league. Dwayne Wade, over the years, was very connected to the Players Union. Chris Paul was the voice of the Players Union. So I'm sure the NBA has stories and stories that haven't come out yet. But the NFL is the biggest sport in the United States. It's the number one sport. It sells billions and billions of tickets, billions of merchandise. And then obviously what it brings in for the Super Bowl is just absolutely ridiculous. So the NFL, where they were selling $5.5 million 30-second commercials at the Super Bowl this year, you look at the money that is bringing in. I'm not surprised that this story comes out. And Howell is a guy that was trying to be a part of ownership. He was trying to buy a team. He was involved with it. He was taking millions and millions of dollars from the Players Union. And the players, remember, $3 million isn't a lot of money. Okay, I want to get that through to you guys. There were stories coming out that he was stealing millions of dollars, and then I'm hearing through a different story that I was reading today, it was like $3 million a year. That's what he was making, about $3 million. That's not a lot of money when it comes to a sport that's bringing in billions and billions of dollars. Last year, the NFL brought in almost $25.5 billion. The year before that, almost 17 or 18 billion. So it went up almost $6 billion. And with the CBA and the TV deals that they're bringing in, and now the options that some of these players are going to get. Look at TJ Watt. Look at the contract that he just got recently. What was it, over the weekend? Mm-hmm. It was the biggest contract besides a quarterback. I think he's making $42.5 million a year now. Well-deserved, by the way. Yes. I'm not saying that it wasn't, and it isn't. The fact is, the NFLPA knew about this. This is not something that was hidden for years. It's a story that came out because a writer wanted to get something out where he can become the center of attraction. And that's what these writers are doing now. They're trying to find a story, and then it comes. And a lot of these players, I was watching things on YouTube today. A lot of these ex-players that are still involved with the union, they said that obviously this is a sad story. This is not a happy story for the players' union. But they said there's a lot of collusion that goes around in professional sports. And then also, I'm not going to mention the show that I was watching. He had one of these ex-players that were involved with the union for many, many years. He asked him, and he said, well, this goes on in unions in every single union. This goes on in not just sports, but every single union. And this particular guy said, well, wait a second. Not every union, every player or every person is a millionaire. So he's absolutely right. When you see this kind of money being flashed around, and $3,000 is nothing to the players' union. As a matter of fact, it only gives you a thought in your mind how much money is getting thrown around under the table. That's what's scary about the NFL. And everybody talks about, and I have attacked Ohtani for the betting scandal that the MLB was trying to cover up for over the last, 2 years? Now we're talking about this. Now, this is a scandal, but is it really that big of a scandal when we know that professional sports for years have been, how about college sports? What they've been doing for players. Now all of a sudden we have the NIL deals and these players are making money. How many times before the FBI got involved with it, before the mafia got involved with it, how much money was being pushed under the table for these players to decide, hey, you know what? I want to go to this school. I want to go to that school. So it's been going on. Collusion's been going on forever.
Let's not forget the Arabs that funded Deion Sanders.
Yeah, so obviously, this is obviously a big story. The NFL is trying to cover it up. And Howell stepping down, and obviously the Treader situation, him stepping down. Here's the thing. The senior director of player affairs is not an important position. Just to let everybody know. It's a position. It's not the biggest, it's not the most important position when it comes to the NFL Players Union. Now, there's a line of players that are involved in communication with these lead guys that are running the Players Union. This is a position that is highly touted because there's money. There's a lot of money that these guys make. If you're on the board, you're making money, okay? So when you're speaking, you're going to strip bars and you're embarrassing yourself. I understand why you would bring some of these guys, these players, to strip bars. Why? It attracts money. It attracts women. It attracts everything, and it gets the players wanting to come to the players' union and sit down and have a conversation. How do you actually discuss any of this when you go to a strip bar? I mean, except Nathan, because Nathan's the type of guy that would have all his buddies go to a strip bar and have a conversation, not just about money, but tits and ass. I mean, Nathan would be the only person I know would go to a strip bar and have a business conversation. I don't think anybody intelligent would actually take a multi-billion-dollar organization, players union, to a strip bar to have a business conversation unless you were going for your own hidden agenda. And that's what I think it was. Obviously, there's a lot of perverts in the game, as we all know, and I'm not going to mention some of these ex-athletes. Actually, I can name there was a quarterback and a cornerback that was very distinct on going to strip bars every single year in the NFL. And I think if you think back, one of them played for Tennessee, and the other one played for the Bengals. A cornerback played for the Bengals, and the other one was a quarterback that was a top draft pick with Matt Leinart. So am I throwing you guys a bone here? I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, that love to go to strip bars and hang out at strip bars. And I'm sure Jabba, at some points before he got married, loved to go to strip bars. Athletes love to go there because they got a lot of money and they can throw whatever they want to these girls, and they're going to give them nice lap dances and pull down their panties and have a little fun with them. To me, if you're going and you're working on a business deal, you're not going to a strip bar. But again, this wasn't about business. This is about satisfaction. And the problem right now with the NFL is the NFL thinks they're untouchable. Professional sports think they're untouchable. There's so much money to be had, and nobody really cares about the players or what the players are getting after the fact, after they retire. And that's why the NFL has gotten away with it for many, many years. And then you look at now, all the money that's getting thrown in the union and what these players are making now, it's sad because let's go to Joe Montana. Joe Montana played in when? The 90s, the late 80s, actually early 80s,
Mid-80s
and
into
the
the
90s.
90s. Yeah.
How much money was he making? $100,000? $150K?
Yeah, I think he made more for his video game.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They were making no money. Now you have quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, making more money in a 4-year span than they made their whole career. Just think about how much money is out there with the NFL, with the CBAs and the television deals and all the different, memorabilia that they're selling, autograph signings, all the different things that these players are making on and off the field. To me, the NFL, and I'm not saying the FBI needs to get involved or authorities need to get involved, because if they wanted to get involved, they should have gotten involved a long, long time ago. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this has been going on for tens of years. I'm talking about...
But doesn't that make, if the FBI gets involved, doesn't it feel like where there's smoke, there's fire?
Of course.
Like there might be more to it.
Of course there is.
There's going to be a lot more to it.
There is a lot more to this story. It's not just, they go to strip bars. They're doing other things at the strip bars. How do we know there's no betting scandal over there at the strip bars?
Right.
Obviously betting is so illegal and players shouldn't be betting on their sports, as we've seen this over and over and over again in basketball and what we've seen in baseball over the last couple of years. Now, I do believe the NFL, there'll be scandals, and we're going to hear many, many scandals. This story is a scandal for one reason. These guys stepped down because they knew that the NFL probably gave them a nice... I don't know. The Players Union probably gave them some nice money to step away.
Right.
Because severance.
Yeah, severance pay, because they don't want them to go out there. They don't want them to speak to the press, because if they speak to the press and they throw other guys under the bus, how bad is the NFL going to look? How bad is the Players Union going to look if some of these big stories... Now, I do believe one of these guys are going to come out in the next couple of years and write a book. Why? Because it's all about mucho dinero. It's all about money. And one of these idiots are going to come out and say, you know what? I want to write a book. I'll give you $10 million. Let me write a book about it. And he's going to come out. One of these two idiots are going to come out and give away a lot of different people, a lot of people that were involved with it that you wouldn't even expect was involved with it. You think Roger Goodell didn't go to one of these strip clubs? Come on, guys. Roger Goodell's the biggest pervert of them all. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to beat around the bush. This is the same Roger Goodell that just got an extension, 2 years ago, that made a deal with the owners stating that he wanted him and his children and his wife to have a lifetime of insurance, medical insurance. Meanwhile, he won't give former players a lifetime of medical insurance, and he made sure that he had his own jet, win or lose, decide to step down or not. He has his own jet to use in his own occasions to go fly to his family's reunions and stuff like that. The NFL lets this man do whatever he wants, as what we know he did to that CTE doctor when the story was coming out, how the NFL was trying to brush that under the rug. How many players have come up, or stories coming out that players were diagnosed with CTE, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. We've had a couple of them on the show, and the NFL don't want to speak about it anymore. As a matter of fact, nobody speaks about CTE as much as they did 5-6 years ago. Why? Because the NFL probably paid these guys off to shut their mouths.